because I also want to record this for the other students, since since these theories of competitive advantage are part of the next quiz and also the next midterm. So therefore, let's just do a quick rewind. The audio quality is fine now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think just to do a very quick recap of what we were saying is that in some ways, Tesla is an ambidextrous organization, but in other important ways, Tesla is not. And if you think about competitive advantage from a sustained point of view, you have to sustain competitive advantage. Then there are some structures, some corporate structures that are better than others. That's the moral of the story of the ambidextrous organization article. So, for example, if you think about the structure of Tesla, so if you think about the structure of Tesla, the way it is structured right now, the way it's structured right now is that we have a Tesla, that has a CEO, Elon Musk. However, the CEO, Elon Musk, is not devoting all of his time to Tesla. He happens to be the CEO of a completely independent company, SpaceX, of which he's also the CEO. From a long run standpoint, this is not a sustainable structure for competitive advantage. It may have been to initially start it out, some of the ideas initially came from Elon Musk. So he's an innovator, he's an entrepreneur. But the structure that is started as an entrepreneurship is not necessarily the same structure that can sustain competitive advantage in the long term. Now, Elon has said that, all right, so this problem has been raised to Elon Musk, and he has responded in the past saying that, all right, what I'll do is I'll follow the Alphabet model. So Alphabet has Google, it has YouTube, and some other companies. And there is, of course, the senior management of Alphabet that presides over these companies. Now, and there was a discussion on doing this just last year. Now, this would also not be an ambidextrous company because of the fact that as you look at, if we did try to put in SpaceX and Tesla into the same umbrella organization, so here would be SpaceX, and here we would have Tesla, and then the CEO Elon Musk can sort of give a consistent direction to both of these companies and have a senior management that reports to him that presides over both of these companies. However, this would also not be an ambidextrous organization. The reason being, SpaceX and Tesla do not have any synergy. They do not share customers. There is no market synergy here. Tesla is serving customers of electric cars. SpaceX is serving customers of satellite launch services, people who want to send a satellite into orbit. There is no synergy whatsoever here. If you look at the so you can call, if Tesla were to do this, if Elon Musk were to do this, he would end up with a conglomerate. A conglomerate is not an ambidextrous company. What an ambidextrous company, you can have autonomous divisions, yes. If you looked at the examples, so they gave you the example of Ciba Geigy or Ciba Vision, and they also took the example of USA Today. So if you look at the different divisions of Ciba Vision, now this is part of Novartis, but at the time that this research was done, they had the contact lens division, then they had the spectacles. This is a consistent market. This is indeed a consistent market. This is the market for vision care. For vision care services. And it's also true that a lot of people have both. They have both. I have both. I have both spectacles and contact lenses. So they can indeed share customers. So there is a market cohesion in an ambidextrous firm. If you look at the other example they gave in the article on the ambidextrous firm, the Harvard Business Review article, they gave the example of USA Today. This too has autonomous organizations, which is there is the internet news business. So there's the website, and then there's the paper. But this is still a consistent market. It's the market for news, whether you get it delivered by paper or you get it delivered through the internet. It's the market for news. And here too, people have synergy. Here too, you can have the same customers. I'm the customer of both Wall Street Journal and WallStreetJournal.com. Business people often need both of them. You don't carry a newspaper with you all the time, but hey, if you want to look at some news, you can bring up your laptop. So which you may be carrying with you. So even here, they're sharing customers. So an ambidextrous organization is not a conglomerate. It is not a GE. So to contrast an ambidextrous organization with an organization such as GE. So GE has a whole disparate number of businesses, power and lighting. It has aerospace, making aviation engines. It has locomotives. They make locomotives as well. They have medical systems, and so on. And this G is a conglomerate. A lot of people, thoughtful analysts and the management consultancies have actually recommended the breakup of GE into its constituent parts. They do not recommend carrying on the company in this fashion. In fact, I was just saying, anecdotally, in the last 12, I no longer have any GE stock, but I used to for a long time. I almost held it for about 12 years. And I also had IBM stock. And, in that same period, that GE stock did nothing, stayed about the same. It fluctuated up and down, and then it pretty much ended up at the same level that I had at the beginning. IBM stock in that same period went up 4 times. So I know this on a very personal basis as well. So where the managerial thinking is right now is that conglomerates is not a good structure. Is not a good structure. This is not the structure of an ambidextrous firm. An ambidextrous firm has multiple divisions. So it will have multiple divisions. But these divisions do have synergy. they have different cultures. So this division can have a culture, culture X, and this can have a culture Y, which could be very different. But there is strategic cohesion here, so that senior management can then, so that a unified senior management can then drive the two autonomous, or two or three, however many they have, the autonomous divisions within that senior management. So one of the first things, so a few things about ambidextrous organizations is that the culture can be different, but there is synergy as well. So cultures can be different, but we do have market synergy. Prabal, you raised your hand. You have a question?
I was just curious about Amazon then, with its cloud computing services, data.
No, that is viewed as Amazon would be viewed as more of an ambidextrous company, because what Amazon first had before it went into the cloud business, it was first a very large website, if you will, and then they're leveraging that website for offering other kinds of services like cloud services. So another thing that this actually comes within the sort of the overall rubric of the synergy and what is being shared. So there's market synergy. Another thing that ambidextrous companies often have is that they have a common manufacturing platform. So the manufacturers are often done for the different autonomous divisions. The manufacturing is often common. There could be some slight changes, in in the final manufacture, the finishing touches, if you will, but the manufacturer is actually often common. If you look at the examples that the article gave, so if you look at, for example, the USA Today, where you have, so this is in the context of a services company, but the commonality of manufacturing resources goes this way. So you have the newspaper, and then you have the internet, the online. Well, the manufacture of news is common. The manufacturer of news is the reporters. They are the people who are manufacturing the news, and then the information that they're providing is then sent to the market in different formats. So that news is either sent to the market in the print format, or it's sent to the market via the internet. So this is simply a delivery channel, whereas the manufacturer of the news is really the reporters, and that is common. So if you now look at Amazon, so Amazon for a large number of years was basically a big internet site. It was basically a big website. But then they put in so much infrastructure. So Amazon had a farm of servers with all the network infrastructure that goes with it. So what that Amazon did was, hey, instead of just selling books, hey, why don't we sell this? Why don't we sell our server farm along with this extensive network infrastructure we have? So this is how Amazon got into the cloud business. So this is what synergy is. Whereas SpaceX and electric cars, there is no synergy of this nature. This would be more of a conglomerate model. If Elon Musk did put his SpaceX and Tesla into the same parent company, this would still be a conglomerate. Whereas Amazon is following a consistent, much more integrated strategy in terms of its offerings. So like I said, for USA Today, the manufacturing is the reporters. They're the ones who are producing the news, and it's being delivered to different audiences, and there could be overlap in those audiences. People have both the print paper and they also subscribe to the online. But it's feeding a sort of a common manufacturing platform in the services industry. Amazon's venture into cloud services and things like that is being leveraged by the website that it already had built. This website is not a single website, so it's a farm of servers with all the network infrastructure that goes with building that farm. And now Amazon is leveraging that farm to create additional services.
Okay, yeah, that definitely clears things up. And then, I mean, if they've taken over Walmart's business, they pioneered beyond Walmart, beyond FedEx and UPS with logistics and delivery. They have their own airlines and everything now. So
Yeah,
they,
yeah. But they're moving from a common base. They're diversifying
true.
from a common base. Now you don't want to get, if not every company, successful companies often go wrong because they you know they go too far out. You could also diversify beyond your core competence, as long as so Amazon has this core competence where it knows how to manage this farm of servers and infrastructure, which is kind of their manufacturing, if you will, and and be able to sell online, so that they have their warehouses as well, so they can then sell online. But if you diversify too much far out, then we'll have to see if that strategy. You don't want to be a conglomerate of disparate businesses, which is what GE is. And you talk to any analyst, they'll say this is not this. That's why GE stock is not doing anything. GE stock is a pretty bad investment. It's done nothing. It did nothing for almost a 15-year period that I held it.
So
It
the
was about the
owners,
same.
so the owners for GE's disparate holdings is the management essentially, or was it stockholders or stakeholders who pushed them to acquire property?
The acquisition spree. This is what happened. See, Jack Welch. Um, he's the architect of how what GE looks like now. And Jack Welch is a very strong person. So a lot of his ideas, the board basically accepted. So Jack Welch did things like the acquisition of NBC, and people would ask, well, how does NBC relate to anything we're doing? So this this diversification was actually done a lot under Jack Welch, and so the stockholders kind of went along with it. But in recent years, the stockholders have really voiced a lot of discomfort with the fact that their investments have done nothing. And this has brought in a lot of analysts to look seriously at GE's corporate structure and advise breaking up the company in order for each of those separate autonomous divisions to really take off. Now the voice of the investor is coming in. Jack Welch is no longer there, and we'll see. We'll see. But a conglomerate is not. So one of the points that I want to make is the conglomerate is not an ambidextrous business. Conglomerate does not equal ambidextrous. So you have to think about that. So an ambidextrous business does. So the structure of an ambidextrous business would be like. So as I was saying, yes, you have autonomous divisions. They have to serve a coherent market. Otherwise, you don't get that synergy. So they have to serve a coherent market. My writing with the stylus is horrible, I know that. But hopefully, the voice is the sound okay now,
Yes,
bro?
yes. How about horizontal integration with regard to ambidextrity?
Well, the horizontal integration is what is there.
Okay.
So it is horizontal integration. That's another word for the cohesion of the market.
Okay.
So the horizontal integration in terms of well, actually, it also depends on which how you're using the term, but I'm using the term horizontal integration in the sense of the cohesion of the market. I'm using it in that sense. Now, it could be used in a different sense, um, but I'm using it in the sense that the market synergy that I'm meaning these two. These are a horizontal level, if you will, and I'm talking about this integration across. I'm using it in that sense
Okay.
that these organization units can share customers.
Okay.
How are you thinking about horizontal integration? How did you use that term?
I think your approach is more customer specific in term from an dexterity standpoint, but um, I'm also trying to view it from a product line standpoint, horizontal
Yes.
integration. Um, and where's the overlap there with regard to product line horizontal integration and customer base widening from that standpoint?
The overlap um,
In the concepts
in
or in the markets between, I mean, where's the line between product synchronicity and customer needs synchronicity? I mean,
well,
because
the product synchronicity. If you talk about, it's for example, as I was mentioning, that the same. So the product synchronicity would be in, we as I was saying. So here is, if you look at USA Today, this is print and this is online news, print news and online news. These are complementary products. So these are complementary products which can in fact be sold to the same customer as well. So
true, yeah.
here you have complementary products.
But then a print is going away. I mean, it's a generational thing, and I mean, you only pick
It's
up
not gone away
news.
yet.
True, but I mean,
It-
even the
yeah,
biggest names are struggling: New York Times, Washington Post,
true.
and today is just a paper you get in the motel or hotel room when you get there. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if many people buy a Today USA Today magazine at the grocery store even anymore. It's just a complementary product available in motels.
Yes. Um, let me just turn this off.
Sure.
I'll be back in a second. Yeah. Sorry, my
Yeah, no
phone.
problem. I mean, not to
Yeah.
digress too much, but there's this concept of blue ocean ventures where you try to, the competition is so strong in your existing market, you try to find new markets
Mhm.
for products that haven't been discovered yet. So wouldn't you say like Tesla is on that path in a sense with regard to electric uh, car technology and space exploration and whatnot? So,
Yeah. So let's talk about. Okay. Let's talk more at the product level.
okay.
So I wanted to make the point about the organizational structure because, like, that's what the ambidextrous organization is.
Sure.
It's a certain structure which matters. You can't have a CEO who's AWOL 30% of the time. the CEO should be, so you can't have two separate entities and two separate businesses. That is not ambidextrous structure. All right, so let's talk more about Tesla's Tesla's products and also its product strategies. So where is it looking next? So an ambidextrous firm, another thing that an ambidextrous firm must have. So we talked about we talked about these separate organizational entities. Another thing the ambidextrous organization should have is they should have the exploitative arm, which is looking at. So the exploitative arm is looking at the current market, and then there is the exploratory arm, which is looking at the future market and products. So if we look at, let's talk about Tesla first. There is a current market of electric cars, and Tesla is very much focused on that, and it's doing the incremental improvements in terms of battery power, in terms of a larger footprint of charging stations, and all the stuff that needs to do to serve its current market. So this is Tesla. Now, to be ambidextrous, a firm, a business must also have the eye on the future. What is Tesla's next big thing, if you will? So an ambidextrous firm must also have in mind and pursuing, not just in mind, but pursuing actively the next big thing. So let me ask you, as you read these things, what do you think is Tesla's next big thing?
Transportation, as at least in the US, the rail network is lacking severely. So Elon's idea of maybe a little pie in the sky, but that concept of those tunnels with those, it's escaping me, with those essentially vacuum uh, transport modules that would move people at almost aeroplane-like speeds. I think that's something that can be considered futuristic. That his whole space exploration thing, there's some um, benefit he can accrue from, let's say, the stainless steel reusable rockets that he's trying to launch right now. He's going to be using that stainless steel in his Tesla truck that's coming out that he claims to be bulletproof, 9 millimeter proof at least. So, so he's trying to find synergies, but um, I guess in that sense, it's an interesting case to me because the amount of technologies that come from taking up something as challenging as space exploration, I'm sure you can find um, various applications for it in civilian life, in civilian
True,
industry.
true. I would agree.
So,
Once he does do this, there will be. He doesn't have this yet, but once he does, if he does bring those two uh, corporations into a single house, because it's not just Tesla himself. He also needs a senior management team that looks across both.
and
Right now, he doesn't have that. He has a senior management team in Tesla. He has a senior management team in SpaceX, but he
yes,
doesn't have a senior management team under him directly that can drive both and then find more synergies. And also, as part of the execution, bring those synergies home as part of your business execution strategy.
yes, he's not very management
He's
focused at
not.
all. He's more of a process engineer,
Yeah.
and he's got a death grip on all the material science engineers right now. And his competitors are not even able to find good material science engineers outside of SpaceX and Tesla. He's got them involved in the battery technologies and the space technologies development. So his competitors are finding it hard to even hire people away from
Mhm.
there. So There's all that going on, but that's just from an interview I read of him sitting down with a critique of his Tesla electric cars, who's Detroit based, and he was willing to sit down with the guy. And I mean, I'm no Tesla fanboy by any means, but I have friends who have bought into the concept. They have the electric cars now, and it's taking off in a big way, even in a town like Toledo, far away from their epicenter. But just because of the way he's dealing with, he's removing dealerships from the picture. It's all
Hmm.
the marketing side is what I've been looking at. He's going completely online, and the service people in these even the Tesla service centers are not commission based, so they don't have an interest in selling you anything. They just want to get your problem addressed. So they're more
Hmm.
problem focused, it
Hmm.
appears. But I may
Yeah,
have gone too weird on
all
that.
things you said are all valid. Another one thing to add here is that, and in part with the expansion of the ecosystem that you were also alluding to, is Tesla actually does have a next big thing, and it's not a technology per se. It is more he wants to make he wants to generate huge volume in electric cars. So basically, he wants to make electric cars mainstream. And to do that, he has to see his cars are $75,000 a piece. This is not a cheap car.
Yeah,
He
that's a
wants
marketing strategy.
he
That's to soak up the top part of the market. Isn't that a marketing strategy where you soak up the rich first for your product and then you scale down to the middle tier and lower tiers? Correct?
well, not necessarily because if you look at the big car manufacturers such as Mercedes Benz and BMW and others, they have brought some prices lower than some models, but they're still, I would say, and most people would say, are still niche players. The person buying a small Honda Civic or something like that doesn't, is not the same as the person who buys a Mercedes, even one of Mercedes's lower priced products. Tesla is talking about something else. He's talking about bringing this down in price point considerably so that it's not like the 75,000, it's more like the 30,000. So essentially, Tesla, this is Tesla's next big thing, which is making electric cars mainstream, which means increasing the volume of sales. And here, things about the ecosystem certainly play a part. But he wants to make the volume of sales of electric cars so large so that it actually uh, becomes a product that is within the reach of the mass market. Right now, his product is not within the reach of the mass market. And there are things that he is doing here. So he is innovating in terms of the batteries is a very expensive part of the electric car, but he is using the leverage and the leg up that he has in battery technology to do the innovation to basically increase the volume of the electric car market.
I think
Today, the
he's vertically, sorry not to interrupt you, but he's vertically integrated the battery factories. He's opened a huge battery factory in Texas, and his brother
Mhm,
is running it, or a cousin is running it. So
mhm.
he's done that 3 4 years ago already.
Yes, but it hasn't fully translated into a mass market for low cost electric cars. Tesla's vision right now, in terms of his next big thing, is actually to have a mass market, ignite a mass market low of affordable electric cars. The mass market cannot afford Tesla's electric cars today.
True, he's got some models now coming out in the 45 to 50,000, and then with the 7,500 electric rebate, then it comes down to I, I think 35 to 45,000 is the new inflated average mass market cost of vehicle ownership now for new vehicles, versus 20 years ago when you could get a good car for 18 to 20,000. I think those days are gone in a certain sense for good technology. Um, just essentially. Uh,
Around 30,000. I mean, you can still get a nice functional car around 30,000.
um,
And I think Tesla is trying to bring it to that level from some of the things he has said.
True. Okay. I guess yeah, I could come around to seeing, accepting that point that when he brings a product in the 30,000 category, when he offers one there, then he'll truly
He
be
has then he
successful.
has a mass market. He ignites a mass market. Right now, the market for electric cars is two to 3%,
True,
around
but
two
then
percent
why are the big three jumping in? Why are they so panicked and jumping in such a big way? GM, Ford has completely electrified from 2024 onwards or something. Just in the next 3 or 4 years, they've taken a
because
serious leap.
the big pie in the sky that is that this 2 to 3%, which is what is happening currently, about of all the vehicles sold, you have about 2 to 3% in terms of electric cars. This thing, the exponential expansion of this to let's say 20% of all vehicles sold. This is the big market opportunity for anybody out there, for the electric car manufacturers out there to bridge this gap, to bring it, when this to basically bring it into a 20% of the entire market for cars. And the one that can do that is going to be the biggest winner. And that's what Tesla is after. That's what Elon Musk is after. How do you take a market that is the size of 2 to 3% to a market that's the size of 20%?
True, I agree there. It's just that these later entrants, I'm just curious why Toyota is holding back, and they've still been pursuing hydrogen and not jumped onto this bandwagon yet. It's just confusing me with regard to Toyota's approach.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure about that. Um, Tesla is more aggressive, is more aggressive than the other players in terms of setting up the ecosystem and also doing the innovation in battery technology, which will be able to bring the price point down to the mass market level.
So the battery
So,
is the price factor. That's really what makes it that expensive, or is he charging a substantial premium on his cars still?
well, I think the to bring it down to that price point, which will ignite the mass market. There are several things that have to be done. It's not just the battery technology; it's also the ecosystem. And Tesla is thinking quite a lot about that ecosystem and how he's going to, basically do economies of scale play on that on that, so that he has a full package that can be delivered at that lower price point. And I don't know if it's 30, it could be 35K, something like that. It's around that. 30 to 35K is probably something that's going to ignite the mass market.
Sure, I agree.
And
So
yeah,
what happens if a hostile foreign government takes down the electric grid tomorrow and all these electric only vehicles are stranded? Wouldn't Why isn't it more prudent to go with a hybrid technology like GM's Volt, where you could run either on a small gas engine or a Stirling engine essentially in the chain that actually charges the batteries? I don't know why that didn't take off. Um, Again, I have friends who own Volts, and they're wondering the same thing: why the hybrid um, side of things didn't take off. That seemed to be the optimal solution. for range and
Yeah,
price.
it's also, yeah, some markets don't. It's like why the network computer didn't take off. Network computer also logically made a lot of sense, but it didn't take off. So it's a lot about also, you gotta be you gotta hit the market at the sweet spot. You gotta be have the right product at the right time. Um, in fact, we the markets actually come back to the notion of a network computer, which Oracle had mooted 15 years ago, but it didn't nothing really happened with that at that time. So it's also that you got to sort of enter the market when it's ready. It's not just about the product and its capabilities. It's also about are the consumers ready, and that's match has to happen. And sometimes it doesn't. You may be ahead of the times, you may be behind the times, but the consumer, you're not really at the sweet spot of the market and the consumer's preferences. So a few other things I wanted to say about. So we talked about the ambidextrous. A few other things I wanted to say about the theories of competitive advantage in relation to Tesla is basically taking this as the opportunity to say it. So one can ask, okay, now so we have talked about Tesla as an ambidextrous organization, and it doesn't really it it is ambidextrous in one sense. So ambidextrous also means you have the exploratory and you have the exploitative arms within the company. It has this. It has this. So it's ambidextrous in this sense. But ambidextrous also means structural sense, which means that although you may have different business divisions, they're all reporting to the same CEO with a senior management team that is then driving these various divisions. It is not ambidextrous in this sense. So there it loses that. Ambidextrity also means synergy in terms of products and customers. Synergy so that you're serving a coherent market. In fact, you can because you're serving a coherent market, you can actually cross sell. So the same product could be sold. The same product sold by one autonomous division could be sold by the other autonomous division. Tesla is not in that sense ambidextrous either. If he does, as he has spoken about this, if he does bring SpaceX and Tesla into the same umbrella organization, a lot of people have talked about this, it would still not be ambidextrous because this is the customers that this is serving are satellite launch services. These are very different people than people who are buying cars. So there's not ambidextrous there either. So important ways it is ambidextrous. Ambidextrous also there's a lot of synergy. In fact, ambidextrous also shares IT, shares markets, shares manufacturing, shares IT as well. IT is expensive. You're not going to set up two different ERP systems, have two different IT administrations. All of that is going to be pretty expensive. So it shares IT as well. Now, if you sort of change gears a little bit and look at talk about Porter's notions of how we would view Tesla in terms of whether it's a product differentiator, it's a niche player. Tesla, even though it has some models, so it has it has a truck and it has also the sedan. Tesla would not be considered product differentiator. It would still be considered a niche because of the fact that the overall market for electric cars is a niche. If the market for electric cars goes up to like 20%, then Tesla would be a product differentiator because it has different models. Tesla would then be a product differentiator. It has different models, but as long as the market for electric cars itself is 2%, then this was viewed as a niche play. So at present, it is viewed as a niche play because he's serving, he's targeting a 2% market. Now I agree, he wants to make electric cars into like 20% of the market. Then Tesla would be called a product differentiator, but not presently. Any thoughts, comments on that?
No additional thoughts on that.
Okay. And just as a contrast, SpaceX actually is a product differentiator because SpaceX is targeting the complete market of satellite launch services. This is a large market. This is a large market, and SpaceX has a spectrum of Falcon X rockets for different sizes of satellite launch. You have the small rocket to the huge rocket, the Falcon 9 or something like this, and SpaceX is serving the whole spectrum of satellite launch services. SpaceX is not targeting a particular niche within the market for satellite launch services. Tesla is serving a particular niche within the market of cars. In terms of core competences, Tesla does have, so yes, it does have a core competence in the manufacture of electric cars, as does SpaceX. So core competences, they both have valuable resources and core competences. They both have patents in the area. Tesla has some patents in battery technology. But they're really also not going so much. That's not part of the strategy, if you will. I mean, yes, they have that. They have a patent in battery technology, as I understand it. So yes, they have some unique resources in the RBV sense. They also have a core competence. The difference between RBV resources, they're both internal strengths. One is more localized and discrete, like key people. But what happens is that you may seed the company with key people. You can start the company with key people, which Tesla did. Its founders have actually a lot of background in battery technology. But then you bring in that as the company grows and it does business, that expertise gets more widely diffused through the company. So the resource of key people actually over time becomes a core competence. So both SpaceX and Tesla, I think this was founded in 2002, this was in 2003, kind of around the same time. And that's a long enough period for the expertise of the key people that were brought in to seed the company. It's sufficiently long time for that to have become core competences, which both of them would now be recognized as having. And both do have their minds on the next big game, the next big thing. Tesla is actually not so much, a totally, new design. They're not doing so. There's often a distinction made between, in the ambidextrous firm, we also talk about incremental innovation and discontinuous innovation. So I think as far as the technology goes, Tesla is innovating incrementally, but they do want to sort of create this low-cost car, So that might be economies of scale. It might be a different business model, or maybe the battery technology. So they want, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to put a package together that can hit the low cost market. And that's probably not just a technology play. It's also a play on economies of scale, market positioning. So they want to create that package. So discontinuous, it doesn't necessarily always mean discontinuous in terms of technology, but also new business model. So it's also a new business model. So it could be incremental technologies and the new business model. SpaceX is actually going more for discontinuous technologies. They want to reach Mars and that kind of thing. So that may actually require different types of rocket technology. So that might so that may be some discontinuous innovation there. But the point is, both of them are looking at the next big thing. Any further comments? I basically tried to. I think I've hit upon all of the things I want to discuss. I want to do this in connection with Tesla and Elon Musk, rather than do it in a sort of abstract theoretical sense. So I want to talk about the corporate structure, and I also want to talk about what ambidextrous firms are, and they do have a strategic cohesion. They are going after really a single market, if you will, but with different products like eyeglasses and contact lenses in the case of Novartis, um, internet news versus paper news in the case of USA Today. So that gives you an example. Gives you two examples of the strategic cohesion in terms of the market focus. It's consumers of news, and other places consumers of vision care products.
So, Professor, with regard to the Porter model of the five forces, um, do you think there's going to be more pressure on Tesla suppliers with Ford and GM coming into electric technology in a big way, or do they have their own supply chains that are separate?
Well, in terms of the suppliers, I think the big thing is one of the key things is of course the battery, and so one thing that would differentiate between Tesla and GM and Ford. Ford is, I think, what is it? Is it tying up with? It's tying up with Google, or who's Ford tying up with?
For self-driving, or
Oh, okay. So
or
you were talking about the electric cars.
yeah, just the electric, the battery, and the whole vertically integrated aspect of it. Like Tesla is already vertically integrated the battery factories and everything else. So it looks like they're 5 years ahead of their competition, at least with regard to
Yes, yes, I would
batteries
agree.
and whatnot.
Yes, I would agree. So that can the first mover advantage is also something that provides you with competitive advantage.
And
So
these newer players have to come in the mid-tier market. They're not able to soak up the top-tier market like Tesla did. The 80,000 plus dollar cars that they sold for years.
yes, yes,
Nobody's gonna pay that much for electric car anymore because
yeah.
they know it's achievable to have a $50,000 or $40,000 electric car now. And that's where me personally, I'm looking at the Ford Mach-E, and I'm excited about the Ford Mach-E, Mustang Mach-E. They've used the Mustang brand to push an electric SUV or crossover, but I think
What's it priced at? What is
45,
that priced at?
45, and then with the 7,500 credit, it'll be 37.5. But that's just for a base model. You pay about 40 to 42. for a decent package car. So
See, I think, I think if it stays at 45, I don't think you're going to get from, I, I don't think you can create a mass market if it's going to stay at 45K. So, if you want to make this, if you want to hit like, if you want to make it like 20% of the car market, I'm not sure if you can make it we can do it with 45K. But I don't know. I mean, is that your feeling that with a 45K type of, if it's in the price range of 45K, the electric car market would ignite?
I think that's reachable for a lot of folks because now you live in the times of 72-month car loans, if you've heard of those car loan notes. It's insane. A lot of things have changed since the recession, the 2008 recession and whatnot. So um, I don't know. It's how the next generation looks at buying cars, or with the pandemic and everything, the demand has increased, but they also are environment conscious, and so I don't know if they want to pay a premium for that.
Okay, okay. I'm not enough of an expert in the car market to know. Um, I mean, Tesla says he wants to bring this mainstream. So the price point is a very big part of making it mainstream. Right now, the electric car market is to 2%. How do you raise it from that to 20%? That's when it becomes mainstream. And will that happen with a price point of 45K? I'm not enough of a car sales expert to know that. I have some skepticism around that, whether a mass market can be ignited with a 45K product.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and watch. But
Yeah,
that's the window in which even the competitors GM and Ford are coming in. GM's following the same approach. They're having their Cadillac line, the premium line, go electric first, so they can charge higher premiums for the technology and recoup some of the costs, is my understanding. And then Ford, unlike anybody else, is uh, um, offering the best prices, I think, for electric technology right now. So that's just me.
so Ford, you're saying is like around 40K. You're saying for the electric model.
Yes, but for a very base model, yes, with
Okay,
the 7,500 tax credit.
okay. Well, we'll have to watch and see how that shakes up. Tesla is also into the autonomic play, so the autonomic vehicle play. So they have, I don't know, they call it autopilot or something.
Yes,
They
there's
have
different
some,
levels, so they're again
yeah, the different levels.
they're a whole generation ahead of others. I think the others are
Yes,
catching up though now. So they're at
yeah.
level 4, which is
Mhm.
almost completely automated. The level 5 is the highest. And
Yeah,
most of these guys are at level 2 or 3, GM's at 2, Ford's at 3 maybe. Um,
yeah,
they have a lot of catching up to do still. So.
exactly. So yes, Tesla is ahead in the autonomic side of the offering.
Yes, and that's all proprietary software technology that they'll be selling. And that's what
Yes.
Elon was talking about, that he's going to sell them piecemeal to other car companies or people who need that technology, city buses or trains or intelligent trains or whatever comes down the
Yeah.
pipeline.
Okay. Any other comments? So I think I recorded this, so I'll put this on Blackboard. My goal was to talk about Tesla in the context of these four theories of competitive advantage, and I believe I've covered all of them.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.